are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Once again, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have everybody here once again here on this December 29th, Football Friday. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that, let's get right into what we were going to talk about. So we're going to recap last night's game between the Jets and the Browns. Then we will preview all the games for this weekend, as well as the college games that are on Monday. The college football playoff is on Monday. Washington and Texas, Alabama and Michigan. So we'll preview those as well. That'll be in the final part of the show to go along with the late window games in the NFL. So yeah, that's what we will talk about today. Got wrapped up with the baseball show a little while ago. So this will be the final football show of 2023. As it's obviously New Year's Eve, New Year's Day weekend. So yeah, that's what's on tap for today. So let's get right into the first topic, which is discussing last night's game between the Jets and the Browns. So this game actually was pretty high scoring. Thought the under was going to come into play, but that wasn't the case. The final score ended up being 37-20. Now, most of the points were scored in the first half. There was only 6 points scored in the second half, each team kicking a field goal in the fourth quarter. The defense is kind of, shut the opposing offenses down in the second half. But yeah, it got off to a roaring start. So you had the Browns on their first drive going down the field and scoring a touchdown. They went 7 plays, 75 yards. Joe Flacco connected with David Njoku a couple of times, 36 yards on a 3rd and 15. Then he connected with him for a 28-yard reception. And then Flacco hit Jerome Ford for a 7-yard touchdown. So that put the Browns up 7-0. And I honestly didn't think the Jets were really going to do anything offensively. Well, they didn't in the second half, but yeah, they responded. They went 6 plays, 75 yards, 3 minutes, 4 seconds of time of possession down the field. Garrett Wilson had a 22-yard reception. Breece Hall had a 25-yard run. And then Trevor Siemian connected with Breece Hall for a 21-yard touchdown. So the game was tied. And I was thinking, this isn't good. But then the Browns, they answered 7 plays, 75 yards down the field. And Kareem Hunt scored a 7-yard touchdown. Riley Patterson missed the extra point, obviously filling in for Dustin Hopkins, who was out for this game. And then the Browns, they actually recovered a muffed kickoff for the Jets, and they went for it on down, they went for it on fourth down, and they turned it over. So the Jets lucked out. But then Trevor Siemian threw a pick six. So that made it 20-7. Then the Jets punted. The Browns actually then there were a lot of turnovers in this game. The Browns fumbled. The Jets didn't turn it into anything. David Njoku fumbled. C.J. Mosley knocked it out. Jets punted. Then the Browns turned that into a touchdown. Flacco connected with Elijah Moore for an 8-yard touchdown. Then the Jets punted. Then Flacco threw a pick six. He double pump faked it, threw it, got batted up in the air, and it was picked off by Jermaine Johnson, who took it back for 37 yards. So that made it 27-14. But then the Browns, they scored a touchdown. Flacco connecting with Jerome Ford. It was a 50-yard touchdown pass. But yeah, Flacco rolled. It looked like Flacco got face masked on the play, but then he was able to roll out, threw it to Jerome Ford, and Jerome Ford did the rest. So yeah, that put them up 34-14. Then the Jets kicked a field goal at the end of the first half, and like I said, both teams kicked field goals in the fourth quarter. Only 6 points were scored in the second half. As for the team stats, so Trevor Siemian went 32 of 45, 261 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The Jets ran the ball for 107 yards in total. Breece Hall ran the ball for 84 yards. He had a receiving touchdown. He had 9 receptions for 42 yards and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson was their leading receiver, 5 receptions for 50 yards. Tyler Conklin had 5 for 45. And then as for the Browns, Joe Flacco, he had 296 passing yards in the first half. He finished 19 of 29, 309 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Obviously, the pick six that was taken back by Jermaine Johnson. Jerome Ford, 64 yards rushing. Kareem Hunt, 31 yards rushing. Pierre Strong had 29 yards rushing. David Njoku, again, continues to, be productive with Joe Flacco. 6 receptions for 134 yards. Elijah Moore had 5 for 61 and a touchdown. Jerome Ford had 2 for 57 and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Akins had 1 for 28. But yeah, the Browns, with this win, they clinched the playoffs. So they're in 11-5 on the season. The Jets dropped to 6-10. So many turnovers in this game, though. So Trevor Siemian threw a pick. Jermaine Johnson had an interception in the game off of Flacco. It's just their rookie running back, Abenakanada. I can't pronounce that name. Abenaconda. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. That was better. I think that was on the kickoff. Flacco threw a pick. Njoku lost a fumble. Pierre Strong lost a fumble in this game. Yeah, there was just a lot of turnovers. Ronnie Hickman, he had the pick six, of course. So yeah, there was so many turnovers in this game. The Jets had their opportunities, but they just couldn't capitalize on some of the Browns' mistakes. Abenaconda, that's how you pronounce it. I was trying to remember because obviously he was kind of the number 2 back last night. They just don't even use Dalvin Cook anymore, the Jets. So thankfully I redeemed myself with the pronunciation there. But as for the Browns, they're in the playoffs, and again, my one concern, and it happened last night, was on that pick six. Flacco, throwing that pick six. If they could play mistake-free football, this team is going to be a tough team to knock out. It really is. And I was surprised Flacco can move around a little bit, because especially on that scramble when he hit Jerome Ford for the touchdown. So it's not like he's. Again, he's still kind of a statue, but still, he's able to move out of the pocket a little bit, and extend plays. So. Listen, this team is good, and then they were without Amari Cooper. I didn't realize that Amari Cooper, he was ruled out, but I thought I didn't realize he was, in jeopardy of not playing, and he didn't. And I thought once he was ruled out, I'm like, oh no, that's not good. How is Flacco going to be without him? And Flacco was still good. Had a very good first half. Second half, not so much. They were playing. They were never really in jeopardy in this game. Again, the Jets' offense didn't do anything. The Jets' offense went right down the field on the first drive and, again, capitalized on mistakes. The pick six, that helped. But, when the Browns turned the ball over, a couple more times, the Njoku fumble, Pierre Strong fumble, they couldn't capitalize on that. Browns are 11-5. They're basically locked into the 5th seed. They're not going to catch the Ravens unless the Ravens I guess if the Ravens like lost their last two, then maybe, but no, the Browns. Yeah, how funny would that be if the Browns somehow like got the? I don't think it's possible, but they just end up getting the 1 seed. But yeah, I don't think it's possible that can happen. But yeah, they're basically the 5th seed. They look like they're going to be playing the Jags in the first round or whoever wins the AFC South. So you like where they're at. With the amount of injuries that they've had and what they've been able to do, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, Flacco, he's been good. He's been good, and he's in a good situation. And I continue to say that. This is gonna be a tough out. Whoever has to go up against this team in the playoffs, it's gonna be really tough to beat them. I think the Browns could beat anybody. Again, the one thing that concerns me, of course, is is Flacco turning the ball over, but they got a good defense, good weapons. I mean, this team is going to be tough to beat. I don't think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, but they definitely have a shot to do it because they have a quarterback that's done it many times. And Flacco's best has come in the postseason. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But it's definitely it is a great story. I don't know how many times I have to continue to say that. And he was able to do it without Amari Cooper last night. And Jerome Ford was running the football well too. He's definitely a nice backup to have with Nick Chubb being hurt. Obviously, bringing back Kareem Hunt wasn't a bad move either. But Jerome Ford, it looks like he'll be the backup. Next year when Chubb comes back. He's a solid backup. And he was pretty solid last night. Also with the Jets. I mean, last week they had a solid first half, their defense, and the second half not so much. Then it was like the opposite. Bad first half, solid second half. Is the Jets defense overrated? Because I just, they were getting shredded to start the game last night. I mean, 3rd and 15, and Njoku's wide open. He gets a first down. Njoku was killing it in the first half. I mean, him and Flacco have really, developed a nice connection. But that's Njoku's ceiling is get him the ball, and he's gonna make the play, and he's gonna make plays. I guess with the quarterback troubles that he's dealt with over the course of his career, he hasn't had consistency at that position. Now you got Flacco in there, and he looks amazing. He looks like one of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. What he's been able to do. But Jets defense, was just getting shredded. They got shredded by Jacoby Brissett last week. They were getting shredded by Flacco in the first half. I think the Jets defense is still good, but maybe it's not as good as I think we gave them credit for, because these last 2 weeks have been. Again, maybe it's just because the season's kind of over. So, but I don't know. But yeah, Browns, they're in the playoffs, first time in a couple of years. So, we'll see how it goes. But they're going to be a tough out. So, with that, we will now take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we will preview tomorrow night's game, actually, between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys, a big game in the NFC. So we will preview that when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're now going to preview tomorrow night's game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. So this game obviously will be taking place in Jerry World. Lions are coming in at 11-4. Cowboys are 10-5. Cowboys have lost their last 2 games to the Bills and the Dolphins. The Lions obviously clinching the NFC North against the Vikings. They're coming in hot. Their offense is playing really well these last 2 games. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. For me, I don't know why. Like, right now in the spread pool, the line was at 6.5, and I have the Cowboys currently subject to change. The line actually went down to 5.5. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this game. Now, these 2 teams did play each other last year, and the Cowboys did blow them out. But obviously that was last year. So I wanted to go back to that game. So the Cowboys won 24-6 in that game. Look at the stats. So Jared Goff went 21-26, 228 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I had a QBR of 20.8 and a quarterback rating of 71.2. Jamal Williams was their leading rusher. He had 79 yards rushing. Khalif Raymond was their leading receiver. He had 75 yards receiving. Actually, this was the game Amon-Ra St. Brown got hurt in. I remember that because I had him in fantasy last year, and I wish I had him this year. I could have had him, but I ended up taking Garrett Wilson instead. Jared Goff also had 2 fumbles in this game. Jamal Williams had a fumble in this game as well. So, yeah, a game that the Lions kind of want to forget. Dak Prescott in this game went 19-25, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Tony Pollard was their leading rusher. He had 83 yards rushing. Ezekiel Elliott had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. CeeDee Lamb was their leading receiver, no surprise there. But yeah, and the Lions were 1-5 at that point after the game, and the Cowboys were 5-2. Now, obviously, new year, but I have my concerns. Both defenses, I mean, we saw last week the Cowboys, they gave up 1 touchdown, and, Jason Sanders kicked a bunch of field goals. But, the week before that, the Bills, what they were able to do against them. And, you also had the Seahawks when they played, a couple weeks ago in Jerry World. The Cowboys defense has given up a lot of points, And here with this Lions offense, that's a team that likes to run the football. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs has been on a tear recently. And you also got David Montgomery, who's run the football well for the Cowboys this year. So, it's definitely going to be it can definitely be a tough game. For some reason, though, I like the Cowboys I think the Cowboys are going to win regardless. But I'm torn on what I want to do with the spread pool, because I feel like this could be a game where, you see the Cowboys, they're on a losing streak. The Lions, they've been playing well. So you would think that many people are going to say, hey, Lions are getting 6.5. I'll take that. Or 5.5, I'll take that. But I don't know. I feel like for me, if the Cowboys defense is able to put pressure on Jared Goff, and with their offense going up against the Lions defense, which really isn't that good, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Cowboys could definitely cover the spread. If we look at the league rankings of these 2 teams, so they're both top 10 in passing yards per game. The Cowboys are 5th. The Lions are 6th. The Lions are 3rd in rushing yards per game. The Cowboys are 12th. And they're both top 5 in points per game. The Cowboys are 2nd, and the Lions are 5th. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Cowboys are 5th against the pass. Lions defense is 24th. Lions are 4th against the run. Cowboys are 19th. And then points allowed, Cowboys defense is 5th. And the Lions defense is 24th. Yeah, I mean, listen, this definitely has the potential to, hit the over. What's the over? Actually, what is the over-under for this game? It is 52. I feel like it can. I feel like it could definitely get around there, but then also you got to factor in the, the prime time unders, because the unders hit a lot too. But at least for me, I like the Cowboys to win. It's just the spread is where I'm having a little bit of trouble on making a decision on what I want to do. Now, I might go with the opposite of what most people are going to do, because it seems like, at least in the spread pool, more people are going with the Lions as opposed to the Cowboys. So I might go with the opposite and just say, hey, listen, the Cowboys, yeah, they've been struggling a little bit recently, but they're back at home where they play well at. And, the Lions, maybe they're due for, listen, they clinched the division, so maybe they're due for a letdown game here. So I might just do that. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't want to root for the Cowboys because obviously, being a Giant fan. But listen, I only have 2 weeks left to win a week in my spread pool. So hopefully, maybe this could be the week. It probably won't be, but again, I might go with the opposite and just take the Cowboys and see what happens. But 6.5 or 5.5, as it is right now, that is a lot of points. So right now, I'm going to take the Cowboys in this game. I think they win by at least a touchdown. Again, I won't be surprised at whatever happens in this game because, listen, the Lions could score points. But I feel like if the Lions are down in this game early, I feel like they're not going to be able to catch up. I feel like they're not going to be able to play from behind. But again, the Cowboys defense too, they've given up a lot of points, in recent weeks. So I don't know. But they are back at home and they're undefeated there. So I expect them to win. It's just a matter of are they going to be able to score. But listen, the Lions have a good running game. Like I said, Jahmyr Gibbs has been tearing it up recently. Of course, you still got David Montgomery. You got to deal with a lot of weapons. Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's a ton of weapons that the Lions are going to have to, or the Cowboys are going to have to deal with this Lions offense. So, we'll have to see what ends up happening here. But this is a bigger game for the Cowboys. Because, they're trying to keep pace with the Eagles for the division. But then again, the Lions, they still have like an outside chance of maybe getting the 1 seed. But it's not going to happen. No, I think ultimately they're going to end up with the 3 seed. So, which again is fine. You're still hosting a playoff game, but, you're probably going to have to go on the road. And you're probably either going to Philly or Dallas if you make it past the first round. So, and right now it's lined up where it's going to be, Jared Goff against Matthew Stafford, which I really hope that's what we get in the first round because that would be unbelievable. If you got Stafford coming back to Detroit, and how the Rams have been playing, I really hope that ends up happening. So, but we'll see. This game it's going to be a test for both teams. Because obviously, they kind of are in the same tier. I look at the Cowboys as the better team. I think the Lions are number 4 when it comes to the top teams in the NFC. I think you obviously got the Niners, the Eagles. Well, I'd put the Cowboys ahead of the Eagles. I would go 49ers, Cowboys, Eagles, and then the Lions. That's really how I would rank them at this moment. The Eagles and the Cowboys are kind of like neck and neck. They each, won a matchup, but the Cowboys could have easily won both. They did leave some points off the board. But yeah, it's just, the 49ers, they have the best defense out of these 4 teams. The Lions, they might have the worst defense. Although you look at the Eagles and how their secondary's been playing as of late. It's I feel like the 49ers, they easily have the best defense. Then after that, then you would probably put the Cowboys, then the Eagles, and then the Lions. I don't know. That's how I would rank them. But, but again, that's just me, So, I don't know. With this game, I think a lot of points are going to be scored here. But, again, just got to wait and see, what ends up happening here. Again, I think they're pretty much, both teams are kind of locked into, the spots that they're in at the moment. Yeah, we'll just have to see what ends up happening with that. So, but listen, if they're able to put pressure on Jared Goff, they're going to. It's gonna be tough for the Lions. It really is. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see how that all goes. So, but anyways, let me know what you guys think about this game. What ends up happening? I'll actually take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll continue this discussion here. So stick around, and we'll be right back. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Just had to run out for a second. But yeah, with this game here, though, I think again, it all depends on how much pressure the Cowboys defense can generate against Jared Goff. Because again, this offense has really just been humming recently. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, it's either going to be competitive or I think the Cowboys might blow them out. Honestly, um, but again, the Cowboys defense has not been great. So we'll just have to see. Like I always say, we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Because it's a standalone game. There's nothing going on. Uh, you know, for that, but so yeah, that's pretty much it though when talking about this game. Let me know what you guys think about this game, and with that being said, um, when we come back from our second break of the show, we are then going to talk about the early window games for Sunday. We'll preview each of those. And we pretty much got. I mean, it's you got the Thursday game tomorrow night's game, and then every other game is being played on Sunday. There's no more Monday night games, and then next week you got 2 Saturday games, and then you have a game on Sunday as well. So that's pretty much the schedule, and then of course on Monday we got the college football games as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what's on tap for the weekend. But yeah, this is what we will preview when we come back from our second break. But once again, I want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, that is what we will preview. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to preview the early window games for Sunday. So let's get right into that. So the first one we'll talk about is the Giants and the Rams. So the Giants are 5.5-point underdogs against the Rams. The Rams are coming in hot, 8-7 on the season. But they've been playing really good football as of late. I mean, ever since Kyron Williams has come back, I mean, they've looked like a completely different team. Matthew Stafford's been playing well. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Demarcus Robinson as well, scoring touchdowns in 4 straight games. The Giants, obviously, they made it competitive against the Eagles, losing 33-25. They capitalized on mistakes that the Eagles made in this game. So, with this game here, listen, the Rams' defense hasn't been great. But I don't know. I mean, for me, I feel like the Rams have just been rolling. I feel like that's going to continue in this game. 5.5 is a lot of points. But I don't know. I mean, this is one of those games where you could go against the grain, but I don't really want to. But I took the Rams in this game just because I feel like they are the better team, and I feel like they should be able to cover this spread. I feel like it's going to be too much for the Giants to handle, but I don't know. I mean, then you got the Giants going against the Rams defense, which hasn't been great. So I don't really know. But I took the Rams right now, and I laid the points here. So, so that's my thoughts on that. Then we move on to the next game, and this actually is one of the bigger games of the weekend, and that is the Dolphins and the Ravens. So, this is a huge game. Ravens are favored by 3.5. These two teams met last year, and the Ravens were up by a lot, and the Dolphins were able to come back and win that game. I don't know if there's going to be a Jalen Waddle in this game. He might be a Jalen Waddle. There might not be Jalen Waddle in this game because he's obviously got hurt. Tyreek Hill is a little banged up, of course, but he should be playing in this game. Obviously you got Mostert, who has 18 rushing touchdowns on the season. Devon Achane being back has been big as well. Ravens obviously coming off of that huge win against the 49ers, 33-19. I think them being at home and, for the most part, they're healthy. I think they win this game and cover. And that would basically, wrap up the number 1 seed. But who knows? It could be competitive. It definitely could be a competitive game. It was last year. It was a tale of... Well, it really was a tale of 2 different games. I mean, you had, the Ravens, they were up by so much, and then the Dolphins, they came back. We'll see how it goes. But, I would take the Ravens. And I'm going to lay the points here with that as well. Then in the next game, we got the Patriots and the Bills. Patriots are 13-point underdogs against the Bills. Bills coming off of that narrow victory against the Chargers, 24-22 against Easton Stick and the Chargers. And then you got the Patriots. They came off of that upset win against the Broncos, winning 26-23. I think that's a lot of points. I took the Patriots just because the Bills, they got so many injuries on defense. Patriots defense is still pretty good. So I feel like they could cover the spread. I think the Bills still win. But I feel like the Patriots, I think they'll keep it close enough where they cover the number. Maybe they lose by 10, kind of like how they lost it by 10 to Kansas City. So I'm going to take Bills. I think will win. Patriots, I think will cover. But we'll see. Then we got the Falcons taking on the Bears. The Falcons, they came off a big win against the Colts, 29-10. Taylor Heineke obviously got the start, so he'll be starting again. And then the Bears winning 27-16 against the Cardinals. Falcons are 7-8. Bears are 6-9. Supposedly it's going to be it says there's snow in the forecast. Again, I'm looking on CBS. So, I think for me, I would take the. I'm taking the Bears. I'm laying the 3.5. And I think it's because of their defense. I mean, their defense has been playing really well. Give them a lot of credit. The Montez Sweat trade has really panned out for them. Justin Fields has been playing okay. Khalil Herbert ran the football effectively against the Cardinals. I don't know. I just think a combination of that and them being home, I feel like they can win and cover. But we'll see. So that's my thoughts on that game. Then we move on to the Titans and the Texans. The line actually, I think it was 3.5. Then it went up to 5. Then it went back down to 4. So it looks like C.J. Stroud is going to be back for this game. And if he is, I'm probably going to take the Texans here. Them being at home. Nico Collins, obviously, he made his return last week. He scored a touchdown. I feel like the Texans with Stroud being back, I feel like they can win, cover the number. But again, it's a division game, so they could keep it close. The Titans possibly. Obviously, these teams met, when Case Keenum was playing quarterback, and they won in overtime. So, but I think with Stroud being back, I think it's going to be hard for the Titans to keep up. So I'd take the Texans to win and cover. So this game, I don't know what to do. I'm going back and forth with this game. The Raiders and the Colts. The Colts are 3.5-point favorites. I had the Raiders, then I switched it. I don't know. I mean, the Raiders, listen, they're coming off of that big win against Kansas City. But then again, also look at the fact that the Chiefs, they gave them 2 touchdowns. And the Raiders didn't complete the pass after the first quarter. And the Colts, they're coming off of that blowout loss against the Falcons. They want to redeem themselves. They're back at home. I think, maybe they win and cover this number. So I took the Colts, in this game. Then we move on to the Panthers and the Jags. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this game. Right now I have the Panthers because Trevor Lawrence might not play. And we saw what happened when I didn't know if Trevor Lawrence was going to play against the Bucs. He ended up playing. I switched, and then the Bucs still ended up, winning by a bunch of points. Right now I have the Panthers. I might keep it. I might change it. I don't know. Again, subject to change for this weekend. But right now I got the Panthers with the points. Then we got the Eagles and the Cardinals. Cardinals 3-12 coming off of that loss against the Bears. The Eagles barely beating the Giants. The number, it went up from 9.5 to 11.5. It's going to be I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of points. I did take the Eagles, right, because right now in the spread pool it's at 9.5, so I took them. It's gonna be tough. So I'm gonna take the Eagles. Even though right now it's at 11.5, that's a lot. I think with the 11.5, if it was 11.5, I maybe would take the Cardinals. 9.5, I don't know. I mean, does that really make a big difference? I mean, I guess. But I have the Eagles right now. I feel like that was another team that unlike the Chiefs who lost, the Eagles almost beat themselves, but they still ended up winning. I think the Eagles should win by at least 2 scores here because the Cardinals, not a very good team. Defense isn't great. But then again, you look at the Eagles, their defense isn't great. So I don't know. But I feel like the Eagles, they should win by 2 scores. They're at home, but we'll see. Then we got a big NFC South matchup between the Saints and the Buccaneers. The Bucs at 8-7, coming off of that 30-12 victory over the Jaguars, and then you got the Saints who lost on Thursday Night Football last week, 30-22 to the Rams. They woke up at the end, but it was too little, too late. Bucs are favored by 2.5. I think the Bucs win this game. I think they cover the number. They look like the better team right now. I just don't trust the Saints. Can the Saints win this game and shock people? Yeah, but I don't know. I think for me, the way Baker Mayfield's been playing, Him and Mike Evans have had a nice connection this year. Rashad White has really played well recently. I think the defense will give Derek Carr a tough time, force him into some turnovers. And I think the Bucs win and clinch the NFC South, which I hope ends up happening. So I picked them. And then finally, we got the 49ers against the Commanders. It's going to be Jacoby Brissett starting for the Commanders. They're 13-point underdogs right now in this game. Niners obviously coming off of that loss against the Ravens. I mean, for me, I like the Niners to win and cover. I think they do that. Because I mean they cover big spreads. Now, again, they're coming over to the East Coast, and sometimes that could be tough. But I don't know. I just feel like the Commanders' defense is really bad, and the Niners they need to bounce back here. So I'm going to take them to win and cover here, and yeah, that's pretty much all the games for the early window slate. I mean, obviously there are a couple games that have big implications. I mean, you got the Bucs and the Saints. That's for the division. You got the Dolphins and the Ravens. That's for the 1 seed. So yeah, there's some games in this early slate that got heavy implications here. In the second half, not so much. Well, outside of the Packers-Vikings game, which is on Sunday night, and then of course we got the college games to talk about as well. But yeah, I mean those two games in the early window slate, those have pretty big implications. So yeah, but let me know what you guys think about this early slate. Who do you think is going to win each of these games? I mean, the spreads is going to be tough. It really is. I feel like I got to go against the grain, but I really don't want to. But maybe I'll switch to the Commanders and take them against the 49ers. I'm not doing that. Even with the quarterback change, I can't pick against the 49ers, except when I did when they were playing the Ravens, because that was different. Ravens were getting 5.5 points, and they're one of the best teams in football. I'm like, I'm going to take them with the points, and that ended up playing off because the Ravens flat out won the game. So yeah, but that's pretty much it when talking about the early slate. When we come back from our final break of the show already, we'll talk about the late window games. We'll also talk about the college football playoff. With those games, I'll give you my picks for those, and that is what we will do when we come back from our final break of the show here. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're now going to preview the late window games as well as the college football playoff games as well. So let's get right into that. So the first game we'll get into is, with the NFL, is the Steelers and the Seahawks. So the Steelers obviously coming off of that big win against the Bengals, 34-11. And that was kind of one of the differences in me winning one of my fantasy matchups because, well, actually both of them, because I didn't start George Pickens, and he ended up going off. And then I had the Bengals defense who got me -1 points, and I lost by 1 point. So all they had to do was get 1 point, and I would have won. But they got me -1 instead. Mason Rudolph just tore up the Bengals defense. And the Seahawks, they had that impressive win against the Titans. do we really want to call it impressive? But I mean, listen, I mean, Geno Smith led them to a fourth quarter comeback. They won 20-17. That was a big. I mean, it was a big win because they're trying to make the playoffs. And I mean, especially the week before that, winning against Philly, they're in a good spot. If they win out, they're in. So, and they're playing the Steelers and the Cardinals. They're playing the Steelers at home and then the Cardinals, of course. So, they're in a good spot. This is another game where I don't know what to do. I have the Steelers with the points, but again, I don't feel great about it because the game is in Seattle. Is Mason Rudolph going to repeat what he did last week? I don't know. But, you got the Steelers defense. TJ Watt could take the game over. So this game is definitely tough. Comparing the two teams, you got the Seahawks 15th in passing yards per game. The Steelers are 30th. Rushing yards per game, the Steelers are 16th. Seahawks are 29th. And then points per game, the Seahawks are 19th. Steelers are 28th. Then both teams are around the same in terms of their pass defense. Rushing yards, the Seahawks are 27th in rushing yards against the run in rushing yards per game. And then the Steelers are 20th. And then points allowed, the Steelers are 7th and the Seahawks are 23rd. So, I don't know. I mean, 3.5, I took the points, but again, I don't feel great about it. So I might change my mind there. I don't know. We'll see. But that's my thoughts on that game. Then we go to the Chargers and the Broncos we'll talk about. So we're actually going to see Jared Stidham getting the ball for the Broncos this week against Easton Stick. And, the line went from 5.5 to 3.5. I like the Chargers to win, to cover, and I'm going to pick them to win this game. Got to pick at least one upset. I understand why the Broncos are doing this, but I mean, you're still in the playoff race. I mean, Russell Wilson, gives you the better chance to win. But Sean Payton said, like, we're doing, what we can. We need to win games and, start. I think that's what he said. And Jared Stidham, I don't really think is the answer. But I just think it's still funny how they did this to Derek Carr last year. Stidham ended up starting for him, and now they're doing the same thing with the Broncos, and Stidham is replacing Russell Wilson. It's really weird, back-to-back years. But, I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game. It's a toss-up. But, I don't know. I think pick the Chargers to upset them here. Why not? So, I'm taking them with the points. I mean, again, it's 5.5 in the spread pool, and now with this decision, it will drop down to 3.5. So, yeah, I'm riding the Chargers with the points. Then we got a game that should have been, one of the games of the year. One of the games of the year. But now with Joe Burrow being out, that's not the case. And that's the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Chiefs obviously have been struggling. The Bengals, I mean, listen, Jake Browning was playing really well, and then all of a sudden go up against the Steelers, and you looked like a backup quarterback again. So, I mean, I think now the Chiefs are favored by 7. I like the Bengals to cover that number. I don't feel great about it because, again, Jake Browning against the Chiefs defense, how is he going to be? But again, the Chiefs offense hasn't been great. And the Chiefs, throwing a pick six, and obviously, that fake handoff to Pacheco that got fumbled. The Chiefs beat themselves on Christmas Day. And, they really got to get themselves right because right now it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I mean, they're only one game better than the Bengals, and this is, with Burrow getting hurt. So, I think the Chiefs win. But the Bengals are a team that knows the Chiefs very well, obviously from playing them the last couple of years in the playoffs and in the regular season. And we'll see if Jamar Chase plays in this game. If Jamar Chase plays in this game, I'll feel even better about taking the 7.5. So I like the Bengals to cover, but I think the Chiefs will win this game. And if they don't, well, then you got to continue to sound the alarms with the Chiefs because, again, it hasn't been good recently. All right, so now we got the Sunday night game between the Packers and the Vikings. Packers coming off of that 33-30 win over the Panthers. And then the Vikings, of course, they're They're coming off of a 30-24 loss to the Lions. There's going to be a change at quarterback. It's now going to be Jaron Hall getting the start instead of Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins, listen, he threw for over 400 yards, but he turned the ball over way too much. And, the Vikings are like, all right, we're going to start Hall instead. Packers going to be without Jair Alexander because they suspended him because of the whole coin toss debacle that happened, where he wasn't supposed to be out there, but he just then took it upon himself to go out there and be a part of it and almost, screw up the Packers of getting, I think, an extra possession. It just that's a weird situation. The Packers' defense has not been great. I mean, Bryce Young had his best game as a pro against them. I kind of expect more of the same with whoever's playing quarterback for the Vikings. Right now it's a pick'em, and it was originally, what was the line originally? The Packers were 2-point underdogs. I took the Packers. Actually, as I'm looking now, the line's kind of changed in some of the games. Now the spread for the Patriots-Bills game went up to 14. That's a lot. But I'm going to take the Packers here. I don't feel great about it, but I don't know. I feel like they could pull out the win here, but I think it's gonna be a shootout, and I can't believe I'm saying that because you got Jaron Hall at quarterback for the Vikings, but the Packers defense has been awful. I mean, Bryce Young, the Panthers are a team that's struggled to score points, and they put up 30 against the Packers. I mean, now you got Jaron Hall starting for the Vikings. I mean, listen, you got Jefferson to throw to. There's going to be no T.J. Hawkinson in the game, obviously, him being out with the ACL tear. I think Addison's also hurt as well, so maybe he doesn't play. Vikings also can't really run the football, but against the Packers, maybe they will. We'll see. And then on the Packers side, they got a lot of injuries too. So, but you know what? We'll see. I mean, the Packers, after they beat the Chiefs, you kind of thought, like, oh, they're going to make the playoffs, but then you lose to the Giants, you lose to the Bucs, and now, if you could win this game, then, you see what happens Week 18 when you play the Bears. But, listen, at least you could say Jordan Love right now looks like the guy. He's put together a good year, 27 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. He might get to 4,000 yards passing. Right now he's almost at 3,600, so not a bad year for him. It didn't look good at certain points, but you know what? I mean, this is a really young team. And, next year, hopefully a new defensive coordinator, you get a better defense, more, give the defense some more help, give Jordan Love maybe, maybe an established weapon, because they got a lot of young guys on their team. This team is going to be good. And he's the guy, it looks like. So, we'll see what happens. But, that's on the NFL side. So let's go to now the college side for picks. So, obviously that will be taking place on Monday. I keep going back to the NFL. So on Monday, we got 5 college games. So, you got Wisconsin and LSU playing each other. LSU's a 10-point favorite. Liberty and Oregon. Oregon's a 16.5-point favorite. You got Tennessee and Iowa. Tennessee's a 6.5-point favorite. Michigan's a 1.5-point favorite against Alabama. And then Washington is a 4-point underdog against Texas. So, I would take Tennessee to cover the spread against Iowa, even though Iowa has a good defense. 16.5 Liberty is getting. I'll take Liberty with the 16.5. LSU and Wisconsin. I don't know. See, this one I don't really know. It was at 10.5, went down to 10. Take LSU minus 10. And Michigan Alabama is really tough. That one is really tough. Because with the league rankings, I was looking at them. I mean, Michigan's defense is, top 10 in every category. Passing against the pass, rushing, points allowed. But you got Nick Saban on the other side. But Michigan's been the best team, of course, coming in. They're the number one ranked team. Take Michigan. And then I actually will take Washington +4 against Texas. But we'll see. I have no idea. I really have no idea. I'm not an expert. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully it's these games are good, and then we get a good national championship. So, but yeah, so I got Michigan, and then I'll take Washington +4. Hopefully they're good games. That's really all you can hope for. But that's pretty much it with the show for today. Again, this is the last show of 2024 or 2023, I should say. Again, some changes will be coming. Like I was talking about in the last show. We're gonna have some more hosts, of course. And it's gonna be it's a really exciting time. So, and obviously, hopefully, you guys continue to watch as we head into the new year. It's an exciting time, and can't wait to see what's in store for what we got going on here at the GSMC Sports Network. And again, hopefully you guys continue to be a part of that. And I hope everybody enjoys their New Year's weekend. It's gonna be hopefully it's a good year. We'll see what happens. But football season is unfortunately almost over. College football is going to be ending. NFL is going to be soon after because the playoffs are just going to fly by. They always do. And, then it's on to the off season. Then you look forward to the draft and, things like that. But then it's going to be baseball season, So obviously, just talked about baseball, an hour ago. I'm going to be focusing in on that. But only two more weeks left in the regular season for the NFL. College football playoff will be on Monday, and then of course the championship will be after that. A lot coming up. But yeah, football season is almost over, which it's again, it stinks when it happens because you wait for it for so long, it finally comes around, and then it's gone again. So again, I wish everybody a happy new year. Enjoy it however you're celebrating it with your family and your friends. Look forward to what is in store for 2024. Again, hopefully it's a great year. So, with that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in, sticking with me for hopefully the 2 hours that I streamed today. We'll be back again next week. No show on Monday, but I'll be back, of course. So until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Happy New Year, and take care.